Hey Mom, it's me. I'm at the office and I'm going to hopefully get a quick chapter in here for you. It's chapter 21, Advice to World Leaders. I have a patient in a few minutes, so I'm just trying to fit this in so we can get it all done before we meet on your Friday morning at 7 p.m. To wrap up what I've been discussing, I will remind you that the soul does not need to give her permission to be transported in this way. She has already surrendered herself completely to God. She has willingly delivered herself into his hands, and she knows that there is nothing she can do to fool him because he knows everything. Things are different here on earth. There is so much deception and duplicity here. A certain person persuades you that he is your friend, and then you find out that that was all a lie. Who can live in a world so rife with deceit and betrayal? The more you care about worldly things, the more difficult it is. Blessed be the soul the Lord brings to an understanding of the truth. If only world leaders could enter this exalted consciousness, it would be so much more worthwhile for them to strive for this state of prayer than for all the power in the world. What righteousness would prevail in a nation like this? What atrocities would be avoided? Any man who reaches this stage has such unshakable love of God that any fear of risking his honor or his life falls away. This is an especially great blessing for someone who has the obligation to lead his community. Such a king would be willing to lose 1,000 kingdoms if God would increase his faith by a fraction of a degree and give him the opportunity to shine a little light of faith into the hearts of the doubters, and rightly so. The benefits would be so much greater than worldly dominion, a kingdom without end. One drop of water from that place makes everything here on earth seem vulgar. Imagine if the soul were totally immersed in that water. O Lord, even if you were to give me the authority to proclaim these truths publicly, no one would believe me. No one believed those who express themselves better than I have, but at least it would satisfy me to have a real voice. I would count my life as nothing if it meant that I could clearly communicate even one of these sacred teachings to the world. Who knows what I would do after that? I am not to be trusted. In spite of what I am, I keep having these irresistible impulses to speak the truth to political leaders. But since I do not have access to these men, I turn to you, my Lord, and beg you to make all things right. You well know that I would gladly forfeit all the blessings you have given me and transfer them to these rulers, as long as I could remain in a state where I would never offend you. If they could experience what I have experienced, I know that it would be impossible for them to allow the violations they have been condoning. Oh my God, please help world leaders understand the magnitude of their responsibilities. You have singled them out. I have heard it said that when a powerful ruler dies, there are signs of his death in the heavens, as there was a sign in heaven when Jesus died. My heart quickens with devotion, my King, when I realize that you have provided these signs to show world leaders how important it is to walk in the footsteps of the Lord. I certainly am growing bold, aren't I? Please tear this up if it sounds bad to you. Believe me, I could say this a lot better in person, if only they would listen to me. I sincerely pray for our leaders, and I would like to be of some help to them. Such an urge makes our soul reckless. I would gladly risk my life to gain what I believe in. Living is empty once we have seen the grand illusion with our own eyes and realize what suffering comes from walking in blindness. Once a soul has attained this level of prayer, she does not merely desire to serve God. His Majesty gives her the strength to manifest the desire. The soul would not hesitate to try anything that might be of service to him. Any sacrifice for his sake feels like nothing, because she knows that anything other than pleasing him means nothing. The trouble is that people as worthless as I am don't find many opportunities to do something useful. May it please you, my God, that the time may come when I will be able to repay you a speck of all that I owe you. May it be your will, O Lord, that this servant of yours actually serves you in some way. Other women have done heroic things for love of you. I'm no good for anything but talk. This must be why you don't put me to work, my God. Everything with me adds up to nothing more than a bunch of wishes and words about how much I should be doing for you. The best of my intentions give me no relief, since they are always coupled with fear of failing you. Before you do anything else, good of all good, my Jesus, fortify my soul, then help me to help you. Who could bear receiving so much and giving so little? I don't care what it costs, my beloved. Please don't let me come into your presence empty-handed any more. Shouldn't our reward be in proportion to our deeds? Here is my life. Here is my honor. Here is my will. I give them all to you. I am yours. Use me as you will. I know all too well, my beloved, how little I am capable of. But now I have reached you. Now I have climbed the watchtower, and I can see truths I could not see before. Now I can accomplish anything as long as you don't leave me. If you leave, if only for a brief time, I will go back to where I was, which was hell. It's excruciating for a soul who has found herself in this place to return to the mundane world. If this life looks like a farce, it feels like a complete this life looks like a farce. It feels like a complete waste of time to have to deal with physical needs like eating and sleeping. Everything wearies the soul, and she can't figure out how to escape. She sees herself as a prisoner in chains. Now she understands why St. Paul beseeched God to free him from the body. Her cries join his, and she begs God to liberate her. This condition is so intense that it seems as if the soul were straining to break free of the body and go off in search of this freedom. No one else seems to be willing to deliver her. The soul wanders around like a slave sold into captivity in a foreign land. What distresses her most is that she rarely encounters anyone else to join in her complaints and prayers for freedom. Everyone seems to be wanting only to live. Oh, if only we could be more detached. If only we didn't derive our satisfaction from any worldly thing. Then the pain of living without the one we love and the yearning to live a true life would mitigate any fear of death. If a woman like me is so often broken-hearted in the face of my exile, I wonder sometimes what the saints must have felt like. The charity I have given has been tepid, and my deeds have not assured me of true rest. What did St. Paul and the Magdalene and others like them go through? The fire of love was blazing in them. It must have been a state of perpetual martyrdom for them. The only people who bring me any comfort are the ones I encounter who have the same desires as I have and accompany them with actions. I mention actions because there are people who consider themselves detached and broadcast this fact. Long years of spiritual practice and conformity with religious dogma would suggest that they have attained some degree of perfection. But even from a distance, the soul can tell the difference between those who have nothing but words and those who have confirmed these words through action. She understands what little good the first group does and how much work the second group gets done. I've already told you about the fruits of the raptures that come from the Spirit of God. The truth is, some of these effects may be more and some less. What I mean by less is that in the beginning some of the effects of rapture may not be proven with actions. This makes it impossible to prove their authenticity. Raptures cause the soul to grow in perfection. They banish every last trace of cobwebs. This takes time. As love and humility flourish in the soul, the flowers of virtue spread their perfume for the enjoyment of the soul and of others. Actually, the beloved can work such wonders in a rapture that the soul is left with almost no work to achieve a state of perfection. Only those who have tasted this experience will be able to believe what the Lord himself gives to the soul at this stage. In my opinion, nothing we can do will bring us to this place. I'm not denying that a person who makes a concerted effort on the spiritual path will, with the help of God, achieve some degree of detachment and transformation. There are many benefits to be gained by diligently implementing some of the methods taught by authors who have written about prayer, but it will be a laborious process and will take much longer. In rapture, without our doing anything, the Lord lifts up the soul and transports her from this earth. Even if such a soul deserves these favors no more than I did, God gives her mastery of all earthly things. I cannot overemphasize my own lack of merit. I have almost none at all. Why does His Majesty do this? Because he wants to. And he does it the way he wants to. It doesn't matter whether or not the soul considers herself to be ready. His Majesty will prepare her to receive his blessing. Just because the soul has cultivated her garden well does not necessarily mean that she has earned rapture. Although it is absolutely true that anyone who takes good care of the garden and strives to be detached will be blessed. But sometimes it is God's will to display his great glory in meager soil. He so thoroughly prepares the ground of a wretched soul that she is incapable of turning back to her former life of offending him. The mind has grown so accustomed to dwelling on the real truth that anything less feels like a game of make-believe. Sometimes the soul laughs to herself when she sees serious men of prayer and religion, making a big deal about some minor point of dignity or honor that she has long since trampled underfoot. They claim that it is a matter of discretion, and that the more prestigious their status, the more good they can do. The soul understands they would do far more good in one day than in 10 years if they thought a lot less about their authority and simply loved God. Ooh, I like this. Thus the soul walks a troubled path, bearing many crosses, but she experiences rapid growth. Her companions think she has reached the summit, but then God grants her new favors and she ascends even higher. The soul is his soul. He is in charge. He illuminates her. It seems that he is guarding her against offending him. He helps her to wake up in service of him. When my soul reached this sublime state, all the evil in me disappeared, and the Lord gave me the strength to walk away from my bad habits. It no longer bothered me to be exposed to temptation and to spend time with the people who used to distract me. It was as if these occasions of forever were not excuses for missing the mark at all. In fact, what used to do me harm was helping me. Everything was an opportunity to know and love God better. Everything reminded me of what I owed him, and this prevented me from going back to the way I was. It all happened so quickly. I knew that it had nothing to do with my dramatic spiritual progress. His Majesty, in his great goodness, had blessed me with his favors and given me the strength to handle them. From the day the Beloved gave me my first ecstasy to the present moment, he has been increasing my strength. In his kindness, he has held my hands so that I would not turn back. It seems to me that I don't do anything now, and it's true. He does it all. I believe that a soul in this state could be in the company of any kind of people and not be thrown off course. As long as she receives God's favors with humility and gratitude, always bearing in mind that the Beloved gives them and that she herself does almost nothing, she will retain her equanimity. Even if people are unconscious and corrupt, the soul will not be disturbed or enticed. On the contrary, the experience will help her to grow. These souls have grown so strong that God has chosen them to serve others. As the soul comes nearer to God in this place, he communicates very deep secrets to her. With ecstasy come true revelations. With ecstasy come great favors and visions. All these phenomena humble the soul and fortify her. They dilute her attraction to the things of this world. They give her glimpses into the magnificent life the Lord has prepared for those who devote themselves to him. May it please his Majesty that the boundless generosity he has heaped on such an ungrateful wretch serve as an inspiration to those who read this to give up everything for God. If the rewards his Majesty bestows on us even in this lifetime are so radical, imagine what he has in store for us in the next. All right, we've got one more chapter to finish up part 2. And thanks for listening. I hope you have a good day. And I got to get ready for my Avila that I have. All right. Love you, Mom. I'll talk to you later. I'll read to you later, actually. I hope to finish the next chapter tonight and get it up on YouTube for you. Love you. Bye.